Hello, everyone. It's been a pleasure to be with you here today. My name is Öner. I'm from Turkey. I work with the Yıldız Technical University in Istanbul on the Graduate School of Social Sciences. My area is teaching and acquiring a second language. My presentation is titled as Travel is a Means to an End, Home, and this phrase is from a commercial, from an IKEA commercial actually, that was printed on the travel cards in London in 2010s. And why cave people? Why do we have cave drawings here? We will see. We'll see about that. So, as you can see, the migration has been with us for a very, very long time. It's older than the recorded history, and see how the humans have migrated during the last 100,000 years. It's been with us for a very long time. It's older than history, and it can be observed from the ancient times to the modern age. And even, I think, no geography, no culture, no society is immune from that phenomenon. And contemporarily, we can observe migration in several geographies, and very recently the so-called migration crisis across Europe, across the world. And even in Turkey, it is a very political debate at the moment, migration, all kinds of migration. It's becoming highly politicized, which is a totally different topic than what I would like to talk with you today. It's a well-known fact that earliest hunter-gatherers have migrated. We have documents, we have archaeological sites and all the evidence that they have migrated for the resources. They flee from wars between each other, and for food, for safety, for similar basic human needs. So, all said and said, the migration has been with us and seems that it is also going to be with us for quite a long time after today. All right. So, slide to the second one. Human migration is closely related to identity, belonging, and the sense of home, which are the three concepts that I would like to talk with you. I would try to talk about them with you. There are some push and pull factors decisive in human migration, which could be economic, could be social, could be related to safety, but all, I think, are in the end for a better life for the human being that is migrating. So it's a very humane thing, don't you think? Migration or changing countries, cities, regions, going all the trouble is for a search for a better home. So it's a lot related with home, with the idea, with the concept of home, I think. The reasons people migrate, as we said, usually are economic, political, cultural, environmental, and so on. So, I think if we ask 10 different people what home is, what home means for them, how many answers do we get? 15? Can we get 15 answers? I think so. So, the relationship between native places and identity and one's sense of home is becoming an increased complexity as people migrate to further lands with significantly different cultures than the one they were brought up in. Also global travel, hence I traveled here from a very, very far away place. So global travel has really made it easy for people to migrate, to travel, to go. So then, let's move to the other slide. I'll be talking about these pull and push factors a little bit more. just not to, yeah, here is a small, sweet graphic, a cute one, that's about pull and push factors. Let's look at it together. Here we have one, security, environment, stability, economics, and services. These are proposed by one of my references, from an economist actually named Joseph Stiglitz. These are his pull and push factors in mostly brain drain style economic migration. There also is internal migration. Speaking of it, I am an internal migrant. I moved to Istanbul from a tiny, small seaside city in the southwest of Turkey, thinking that I'm moving within Turkey, but now Istanbul is like 3 hours bus ride from Turkey, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It's not Turkey at all. It's a totally different place for the rest of us that come from small cities in Turkey. But I'm not going to talk about internal migration. We're going to come to the study in a few slides. The study is about migrants that come from different countries with non-native parents for higher education study. So we're going to come to it next. Let's see, home is where the heart is. It's a quote by a famous American. Anyone knows? I'm going to buy a drink to anyone that makes the right guess. Anyone knows who he is? Home is where the heart is. It's Elvis Presley, actually. It's a song by Elvis Presley. And a home, it's oikos in ancient Greek. The root word for eco in English, we have native English speakers here. Maybe shed a better light on this now. It's the root word of eco, so everything, economy, ecology, anything that starts with eco is related to the Greek word home, oikos. And another word that the scholars are still debating if it comes from home or not is heart. It's furnace, open fire, where people gather together. Families are, at least back in the old times, are in front of it. And it brings the microcell, a house, and the furnace, heart, brings people together in homes. And since antiquity, it's a clear and stationary indication where a home is set. They're also being taxed as early as the Byzantine times. The household tax is based on how many hearts do you have, how many furnaces do you have in a home, means that you have to pay tax for each family in that house. Well, let's see. An Englishman's home is his castle. Homes has always been regarded personal, distinctive, and probably the earliest property the humankind has ever seen. It's belonging to a family. So it's very connected to belonging, homes are. As early as Codex of Hammurabi, holy books such as Quran and the Bible has references, specific rules, specific customs, therefore indicating the sense of belonging of those houses. If this is your house, the laws, holy books, religions, culture, society allows you to do certain amount of things in it, but not other people. I cannot simply walk up to your house and do whatever I would like to that I do in the street. I don't have that right. It doesn't belong to me. So can we say that houses are perhaps one of the most basic, most earliest property, sense of belonging to people? Can we say that, maybe? Yes, so there we go. House. They offer comfort, stability, happiness, security, and familiarity to a person who the house belongs to. So these are all not internal, external feelings. What do you think? What kind of feelings are those? internal. Yeah, they're all about belonging, and belonging is they're all about belonging, yes, and belonging, even being an external feeling, these are the internal adjectives that connect houses with people. So my point here is, it's my own idea. I mean, I may be wrong, but both identity, belonging, and house. Should I stay here? All right, sorry. I tend to walk a lot, use my hands a lot, and it's very normal for Turkish culture to use your body a lot when you're talking with a group of people. But, okay, I'll be stationary here.
If you want to move, you can use also this one.
There's a solution for everything. Thank you. Thank you. So what was I saying? Yes, there is a strong connection, to me at least, between identity, home, belonging, and both internal and external feelings that these ideas bring to people. So, enough of the homes now, I think. I'll move to a quick slide about identity and belonging. Not just me, but many scholars also say that identity is a possessive internal feeling that defines who we are, and mostly about accepting ourselves. Therefore, whereas belonging is an external and mostly geographically located, like a heart, like a furnace, stationary and geographically located feeling. It's more like where we fit, not who we are, not perhaps where do we think we belong, but where we fit in. And it's about accepting the environment around us, and maybe a little bit related with the environment accepting us. Well, let us move a little bit here and here. Yes. We're going to come back to this one after I talk about the research a little bit, but I just would like you to take a little bit of look of what the contextual references are, and we will go back to this chart and talk about it a little bit too. My research is done with, well, it's not finished yet. It is going to be finished by this fall, and there are 30, the scope group is 30 people of migrant origin. They were born to non-Turkish parents and never lived in Turkey before. So it's a very narrow subject of people that I had the chance to interview with. And we're going to come back to this after I talk a little bit about the research itself. Yes, here is a small detail about the research. I've conducted one-on-one, face-to-face interviews with 18 people, traveled more than 2,500 kilometers with my own car to speak with them. And 11 of them are female and 7 are male. They're all aged between 18 to 26. And basically, they all came to Turkey to study higher education. Thus, it's related to their employability also. They have no family members currently residing in Turkey or have resided in the past. So, you know, there is a distinction between migrant, immigrant, emigrant, and refugee. None of these people are refugees. They all came to Turkey legally to study higher education and perhaps leave back when their studies are done, or stay in Turkey or go to another country for a better job. So then, a majority of the interviewees stated that they do not identify themselves as migrant or immigrant. They rather use terms such as temporary residing or came to study or just hanging around a bit, one of them said. Just hanging here a bit. I don't know what's going to happen next, she said. And during the study, I divided them to 2 groups, 18 to 22-year-olds and 23 to 26-year-olds. The younger and the older group, Group A and B. The graphic, it was about them. Older ones, the Group B, they expressed a certain level of adapting the reality they're living in. And that rate, as we are going to see on the chart, is higher in females than males. So the older ones said that, yes, I accept it. This is Turkey. This is the reality I live in. Cannot change it. Cannot change myself. And a rather enormous number, actually 17 and 18, they said traveling to study and settling in a different country has profoundly helped them to be who they are. They said it helped them build their identity or adopt their identity. And all 18 of them have agreed that their abroad experience, their current experience that they're having in Turkey, has added some sort of trail, here is a grammatical mistake, has added some sort of trait to their identity or personality in sense of, or their sense of belonging, albeit at different levels. Some said, 10 of them said, it helped profoundly, a lot. 5 of them said, it helped a bit, and the rest 3, as much as I remember, said that, well, it has helped, but not in a crucial way. A large number of them, almost all of the younger ones, Group A, below age 22, agreed that a person, that's about home, and that I find it quite interesting. A person can have more than one homes that are equally home for them. But only a few, just 2 from the Group B, the older ones, said that this may be possible. None of them said, yes, a person can have more than 2 homes. And just a very little age difference, 22 and let's say 25. It's just 2-3 years in human life. But the answers were, as you're going to see next in the chart, the answers I received are quite diverse in both of the age groups. Yes. So now I put the chart again in here. These are some of the responses I've got from both groups, A and B. The rate of positive answers mean they said yes to the question, to the statement. It's not a question, but to the statement below. They agreed, albeit in different levels, but they agreed. Let's have a look at the chart together. There's more than one homes that I put in the last that I found quite interesting, and we're going to talk about it together. I will ask your opinions about how it's possible to have more than one homes. Yes. Yes and yes. Any questions up till here? Anything you would like to say? Any remarks or comments? Rants, raves, anything? No? Good. This may mean 2 things. Either I'm going very good or very bad. We will see. Yes. So, based on the interviews, I have collected some answers that I found interesting. I thought in an afternoon like this, answers might have been more, I don't know, interesting than charts and numbers. So, I will also, would you like to help me with these? These are 4 of them. You can just randomly, thank you. So, this is one of the answers that I found interesting. It came from a Group A member, a 19-year-old female, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm going to read this one. I do not think I belong to a particular geographical location. Most of my life is in online. So does my work and studies. I belong to everywhere and nowhere. Wherever I go, as long as there is stable internet connection, I can work and study. I see myself as I belong to a wider community that's composed of everywhere around the globe. There was one of the interesting answers that came from a 19-year-old first-time migrant. She has lived like less than a year in Turkey. What I would like you to do is, she has distributed 4 answers to you from the people I've conducted interview with. Can you spare your 5-10 minutes to discuss and feedback on them, and perhaps one person from each table can step up and give us 1-2 sentence feedback on the replies that I've gotten during the research. Shall we do that? Is that okay? Yeah. There also are the other answers. They're all on screen, but can do it like that, I think. So, people, shall we start now? As we, I think, you have to wrap it up. All right. Who would like to start? Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I can start. So we had here as a statement a person who's one of the students who feels like he or she is a walking ATM machine, and people automatically.
That was a she. That was a she. I remember her. Yeah.
She's rich and she's like privileged and those kind of things. So it's a lot of stereotyping and projections. And we thought this is, first of all, it's an experience that probably a lot of us have when we travel abroad. Also, there's automatically the assumption this is a white, rich person, and the behavior is accordingly of the other people. But also, it could be maybe transferred to even a national context or any context where we see different sections of society or different milieus, like we had the different milieus this morning, do a lot of projection and stereotyping and assumptions of who the others are and what their living conditions are, and just a lot of assumptions. So I think it's something that we can withdraw from this and generalize it, that this is a phenomena that is more generally happening.
And somehow, can we say that we assume a lot when we don't really know? It's a human flow, perhaps. We tend to over-assume everyone, not all of us, but it's a common human behavior that we rely on assumptions, especially when we don't know. We have stereotypes about nations, about cultures, religions, about people that are from specific different regions within even the same country. So we rely on assumptions about the unknown or less known, could say. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So would you like to please?
So, is it on? Yeah. We had the quote that we just saw about the person who said she does not belong to a particular geographical location, but she does it all online, and as long as there's stable internet, she's fine with it.
Let me put that slide up, so
yes. Might
be nicer. It is. Sorry. Yes, is it that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we discussed first that it's a very specific feeling for a very specific age group, because you have that feeling as long as you don't have to settle down or want to settle down, because you do not have any responsibilities like paying for a house, a car, or having children or whatnot. And the other thing is what we discussed, if it's the majority or how many young people actually feel this sort of way, and because it's higher educated, coming from a specific background kind of people, but if you're not able to study abroad because you're training as a nurse or so on, you will never get that feeling, because you have to be on a specific location if you want to.
You need to have like some roots on the ground for that kind of profession. Yes.
And what we also discussed in the end is where does this person belong to? Because you talked about belonging, and she or he specifically said she does not belong to the geographic location, which means she doesn't, or it's not important to the person to actually form any bonds with the people around her or with the people or the place. The place is just a means to an end, because belonging is another. She's to another space online, and that's another form of belonging.
I remember asking this interviewee that, do you think not belonging is some kind of belonging to her? And she said me, don't make philosophy with me. She was quite a nice person, really. All right, then, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. So next, perhaps, any of these two lovely tables that... Would you like to add something? Or you can pass if you don't want to. I mean, you don't have to.
So our example was from a young person that had to flee his or her homeland because of war or conflict, most probably. Actually...
It is the long one. Yeah.
And I think the most important message of this testimony is that the person claims that wherever I am happy, that place is my home. And this last sentence, that, and I think it also leaving his or her original home means a lot of opportunities to learn, to things that probably she could have not, or he could have not learned in his original home, and so on. So. And in our discussion, I think we could fully associate with this kind of feeling, and we really understood that coming from this conflict-stricken region, of course, brings normality in life in another place where the person is safe. And I think it's really fully understandable. What we were, for example, wondering about that if there are any comparative studies on how those young people that are leaving their homes for less pushing reasons, how they approach this kind of ease of moving somewhere else or living somewhere else. And then we also reflected it a bit on the other quotation or testimony that you shared first, that how we approach this issue of having our lives online fully. And one of the arguments was that for example, in case of a young queer person living in a very isolated rural environment, it might be the case that all his or her or their life is online, because that's the only real safe space. On the other hand, in some other cases, we also have some questions if it's really possible to live all your life online, or if it's healthy or whatever.
But I think with the increase of this digital revolution, so-called digital revolution, a lot of things are moving to online at the moment. So many that I could never really imagine. Like 15 years ago, I could never imagine so many things are going to be online. So think of it, these people were born in the middle of it. I mean, maybe us or anyone that's over 40, we didn't born in the middle of the digital revolution. Some scholars even debate that the digital revolution is the second biggest thing after the agricultural or industrial revolution. So, but it's a whole different thing. I mean, their mindset, it's the young people's mindset, it's really quite different because they were born in the middle of it. They have absorbed it perhaps more better than anyone that's over 40 or 50 perhaps. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
I don't know if the others want to add anything.
Yeah.
But
So, would you like to add something, or if you don't want, then it's still okay? Yeah.
So our quote is from a person who doesn't see herself or himself as an immigrant. He or she.
That one, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we discussed that we see this as a very pragmatic approach. As we have learned this morning, many young people are very pragmatic. So she sees her situation. She goes where she can get the best education.
Yeah.
And she's very positive and optimistic for her future life. She will go with her good education where she can find the best living and working conditions. And this will be her home. But we also, and it also reflects a transition phase. So she doesn't see herself as a migrant because it's only education, getting an education, it's only a transition phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the other hand, we also have discussed that apparently there are some push factors, because she says that in her home the political situation and economical situation is not very stable.
Yeah.
So she will go to a better place to find a better life. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people that I interviewed are really very sensitive on being called migrant or immigrant. They perceive this as something of a lower standard, almost like an insult. So I had to be very careful with them. Even if one word, they clam up, and you cannot really, they are sensitive people. It's not easy for youngsters to give such a radical change, such a radical decision with their lives. That's something I've observed with the people that I work with. So, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And then, I think this is where I need to wrap up. Yes, this, and this. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.